What's happening, everyone? Hope you're all doing very well. Today I am taking a look at the Sirui 3T-R table tripod with a remote control. As in, it's a regular tripod with a remote for your camera, not a tripod that you can control remotely. Now, as the name implies, it's a pretty small tripod, designed more for tabletop use, but it also doubles up as a handle grip for holding your camera whilst, say, you're vlogging, for example. It's very similar to the likes of the Sony GP-VP-T2BT or the Canon HG100TBR. So straight away, a point goes to Sirui for giving theirs a name that I don't need a teleprompter to remember. Size-wise, it's about 7 inches long, or about the length of my hand, and it weighs about 260 grams, so is not particularly heavy either. I mean, it probably could have been made quite a bit lighter, but they've opted for a metal construction, presumably for extra ruggedness, which, unlike the Canon and the Sony, that appear to be predominantly plastic. The Sirui feels nice enough in the hand, but there is a rubber strap, which doesn't necessarily get in the way, but you can certainly notice it whilst you're holding the thing. Now, up top, you have a ball head with a tensioner on the side, which, when this thing's fully slackened off, the ball head is about as flimsy as a pensioner's penis on a cold December night. But once you've tightened that tensioner right the way up, it's like the pensioner has downed an entire bottle of their magic blue pills, because my god, that thing is rock solid. Now, two potentially very crucial differences for some people of this compared to, say, the Canon and the Sony offerings. Those only offer pivot heads, not full ball heads. Plus, with the Canon and the Sony, you have to actually screw the camera onto the head, whereas this comes with a quick release plate that you can leave on your camera if you wish, and then it just makes it that little bit easier for attaching and removing your camera from the tripod. Then there is a 1/4 inch screw hole on the side, which you can use to mount something like a microphone if you wish. On the back, there are 2 kick-out leg stands, which switch this from being a handle to a tripod, and there are little rubber strips at all the points that will come in contact with the surface that you're placing the tripod on. And they offer a pretty decent amount of grip to stop the tripod sliding around. They obviously won't stand up to a barrage of abuse. You give them enough force and they will eventually break traction, but overall, they're very grippy. Then on the inside, there are 2 pairs of magnets, which are located on the back of the legs, and they hold the legs securely in place when they are closed away. But just bear in mind that those are there. I've already had several occasions where I've put this down next to something metal, like a spoon, and then found myself carrying cutlery around with me. Now we move into the business end of this little device. On the front of the tripod, there is a remote, which can actually be removed from behind this rubber band so that you can then control the camera from further away. And the remote is run on a built-in battery, which can be recharged via a USB Type-C port located on the side. Sirui advertised that the remote is able to pair via Bluetooth to Sony, Canon or GoPro cameras, obviously provided that the cameras are equipped with Bluetooth. Now, I don't actually have a Canon or a GoPro to test this with, only my 2 Sony cameras. And the Bluetooth certainly does pair. You just put the camera into pairing mode, you press and hold the record and C1 buttons together, and then you wait for the green flashing light in the top to stop having a freak out, and that's it, it's paired. Now, you will need to ensure that any options for Bluetooth remote in your camera are activated, else the camera won't respond. With the connection set up thoroughly though, the camera responds very quickly to remote input, and I found it was able to work at a distance of around 20 feet through a solid stone wall. And once you've established the connection for the first time, whenever you then power up both the camera and the remote control together, they will reacquire connection straight away. The controls are somewhat limited. There is a TW rocker switch, which presumably will activate the power zoom of your camera's lens, provided your camera is fitted with a power zoom lens, which mine aren't. But the switch did, however, activate the clear image digital zoom. There is then one button to focus and capture a still image, and one button to stop and start recording video. There is then also a C1 button, which if you're using a Sony camera will activate whatever your camera's C1 button is assigned to do. However, if you're like me and you have it assigned to menu options, then it's a bit useless as the remote has no way of scrolling or selecting the various options. But if you're now thinking, well, my camera doesn't have built-in Bluetooth, so what use is this to me? Well, never fear. All is not lost, because hidden in a little storage pouch on the underside of the legs, you will find a small Bluetooth USB dongle. Now this plugs into your camera's USB port, and then it creates a bridge between your camera and the remote control. The only complaint I have about the dongle, although I can't even really call it a complaint, rather more a clash of designs, I noticed when I plug the dongle into my A6400, which has a spring-loaded plastic door covering the port, the dongle is a fraction too thick for the gap between where the USB port sits to where the door lines up when it opens. The receiver will just squeeze it ever so slightly and push the door slightly beyond where it's supposed to sit. It only happens with the A6400. It's absolutely zero concern on the A7 III because it doesn't actually have a door to speak of, but it's just something to be aware of, and I'm a little concerned that over excessive use, maybe being a little bit too forceful, could risk breaking the USB plug, potentially. And of course, you don't necessarily even need to use this tripod. You can just use the remote control hooked up to your camera while the camera's placed on, say, a regular tripod, for example. So, overall, a very solid construction, very secure head and legs, good quick release design that will probably suit some people, and the retailing cost for this is currently $99 direct from Sirui, which makes it slightly cheaper than the £120 for the Canon and the £170 for the Sony. So, if you're still watching this video at this point and you're thinking this could be the tripod for you, there is a link to it in the description down below, which, for total transparency, is an affiliated link. And that concludes this review. As always, if you have any questions or queries, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. While you're down there, if you enjoyed this video and you haven't already done so, then please consider hitting the subscribe button and dinging that notification bell, and then hopefully we'll see you in the next video.